terrifying.
I actually have. It doesn't sound bad. I
No,
promise
yeah,
you.
right on.
Yeah, I promise you. It sounds pretty good.
Perfect, perfect.
So this is the first ever podcast episode of um the Tales from the Grips podcast.
Exciting.
Exciting? Are you excited?
I am. I'm completely enamored by the opportunity. So yeah, thank you.
I appreciate it.
Yeah, absolutely.
It'll probably be all fucked up, just to let you know.
Rest assured, like the rest of my life. That's fine.
Awesome. So yeah, man, it's good to see you though.
Yeah, man, Jesus, I'm lucky to be back, bro. I'm happy to be in Jacksonville. This is like my home away from home, no doubt, for sure.
Awesome. How long was you gone?
Pushing 2 years. Yeah.
2 years. You were gone for 2 years.
Yep, man. I
2 years and about 20 pounds.
Yeah, bro. So like, what can I say? Yeah, I got custody of my kid, and it was like out of nowhere. So like, I went back up to Macon and stayed with my mom, and now I have my kid. So I have a 7-year-old, and that's what I'm doing now. So he's in school, he's killing it, which is cool. But yeah, it's a weird situation. His mom just kind of dropped him off with my mom, and I was in Jacksonville, and I had a girlfriend at the time. Either way, we uprooted and went up there, and then things got crazy.
Yeah.
I
didn't even know you had a kid.
I have two. I have a 14-year-old too, man. A sailor and scout. So I have a 14-year-old that's like skateboarding, smoking weed, and going crazy. He's me all over, so it's terrifying. So to say the least.
So you're in daddy role now.
Yeah, like full blown too, and it's weird. It's weird to have the teenager that kind of like keeps away, and like I remember me being a teenager, and I didn't have shit to do with my parents at all, you know. So skateboarding was a big thing, and that's what he's doing. So it's like he's a blueprint of me. It's kind of weird. And the 7-year-old's just stuck up my butt. So yeah, one's going to jail and one's going to college. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Now cherish the moments of the 7-year-old. I don't know how.
I know, bro. It's such a cool age. It really is. Like, cause he's so impressionable. I guess you can really mold their little minds, and it's just funny, man. He's a good kid.
Yeah. That's I'm learning currently with the 3.5-year-old I have, and I try to be really conscious of the short-lived time that you really have with them at that age.
Dude, yeah, because overnight things happen, and it's crazy. And it's like, now he like shows me music, and she's like, oh, this song's really good. And it's like, it is a really good song. And I'm like, this 7-year-old just turned me on to some shit I like. This is fucking weird. You know what I mean?
Yeah. That's awesome, man. I did not know. Honestly, I didn't even know that you relapsed until Chris broke your anonymity.
Yeah. Well, yeah, it happens. But dude, I mean, all you guys are really like family to me. So like, yeah, I needed to be held accountable. And Chris is the best sponsor. He's the only sponsor I've ever had, but he's a good sponsor. You know, like when I was off doing my thing, he let me be where I was at. You know, you can carry a message, not the addict. So like when it came time and I needed help, when I reached out, he was there, and he was always there. So he was always there the whole time. I was just ignorant to the fact. You know what I mean? You know, It's like when you relapse, it's like the deepest, darkest secret an addict can have is like, oh, I'm back out here doing the same old shit. And it's even worse. And yeah, you don't want to reach out. You don't want to reach out until you're ready to change. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, for sure. No, that's pretty tough. Hopefully, I didn't even really introduce you, I don't think, to everybody on the podcast. This is Ian, and last night I was talking to Chris, and I was telling him like we haven't had like a deep relationship or anything.
No,
like
not
that.
at all. But again, like you walk into those settings where we meet each other and we know each other. You know what I'm saying?
Yes, and I've always liked your personality. You've always had like a very, a welcoming, inviting attitude towards me, I would say.
Yeah, well, like my whole with children, going back to hold that, like all I really tell my kids is don't be a dick, bro. Like do whatever you want, but like don't be an asshole. You know what I'm saying? Like if I can manage to raise 2 nice kids with morals, some morals, loose morals. I don't know what kind of morals I instill in them, but yeah, don't be an asshole, bro.
Yeah. For
you know
sure.
what I'm saying?
Definitely. I work on that a lot.
Yeah, I have my moments, but I tend to keep it in the shadows and be a dick by myself and just talk trash, you know. So
yeah, I'll be honest with you, like as far as my attitude goes, I've always been like I'm one of those people that don't hold a grudge. I cannot hold a grudge even if I try. But I will get like so involved in the moment that I come off as an asshole a little bit sometimes.
Absolutely. I love to let things go. Absolutely. I don't try to take stock in like getting upset over small stuff, even big stuff. It's like at the end of the day, it's going to affect me more than they're probably even thinking about it. You know what I mean? Whatever argument or fucking, mishap we had together, I'm probably thinking about it more than they are, and it's affecting me more than it's affecting them. So just fucking let it slide, dude. Let the smoke settle. You dig it?
Exactly. Yeah. Hey, it's that's an excellent quality personality trait to have.
Again, yeah. I try not to be a dick. That's it. My big thing.
So the I guess the premise of the Tales from the Grip podcast is for people to come on and tell their story.
Right.
So
right.
All the juicy details that you you're willing to share.
I've definitely been in the trenches as far as drugs go and things like that. From an early age, to be honest with you. But it wasn't a result of my childhood or the way I was raised or anything. Like my dad was a police officer, was in the army. Like he was like I've seen my dad on America's Most Wanted. He was on Dateline NBC. He was like a top cop, chief of investigations in Chamblee, Georgia. So like I wasn't raised like my parents didn't drink in the house. Like my mom was a closet pothead. My dad was cool with it because he, in the army and stuff, he used drugs and shit. So I was never exposed to any of that on account of like my childhood or anything that happened to me as a child, So when I started smoking weed, it was, with friends at school and stuff. And I thought I had arrived. Like everybody that starts smoking weed is like, oh, this is amazing. So I kept that going for quite some time. Pretty much right after my parents' divorce, it was a weird dynamic because I was always with my mom. My dad was a workaholic, and now it was always with my dad. And my mom was off doing whatever. She was actually like, she had cheated on my dad with like a crackhead she had met in this hotel, like a pay and stay hotel. And this is like a church lady mother. All I've ever known of my mom is like being like a preschool teacher at church. And now like my dad's keeping tabs on her because she's dating some like fucking crackhead painter. You know what I'm saying? Like this is fucking crazy to me. Even wrap my head around. So yeah, I was with my dad for a while, and then when he started dating, they got married, and I had a stepmother, and eventually like that shit got old. I couldn't really get along in that house anymore, so I ended up moving in with my mom. She just got rid of the crackhead boyfriend, and it was just me and my mom for a long time. But she openly smoked weed, like actually what had happened is she didn't openly smoke weed. On my 15th birthday, I had gotten out of the shower. I was staying at her apartment or whatever, just for the weekend or whatever. I went living with her officially. And I walked out on the back porch and just smelled weed. And I was smoking at that time, but like not openly with my mother or anything. But I smelled weed. My mom's out there like cupping a joint. I'm like, you're fucking smoking weed. And she like got
Me too.
Yeah. No, she got really upset. And like, I was like, well, let me hit it. And she's like, absolutely not. And like stormed off and shit. And then later that night, she gave me a birthday card. And there was a doobie in it, right? She's like, I'm not going to smoke it with you, but I won't tell you not to smoke it. And then I knew it was on, So like probably 4 or 5 months later, I moved in with my mom. And me and a homie got out of school or whatever, and we're smoking in the house. He's like, can we smoke in the house? I'm like, yeah, dude, my mom smokes. She's away at work. And she comes home, and obviously the house smells like weed. And my mom's like, Ian, are you smoking? I was like leaning down the stairs, like, yeah. And she's like, well, did you save me some? I was like, yeah. So I knew from then on it was then I had the party house. Everybody stayed with me. Like at any given time, I'd have like 2 or 3 friends living with me at the house, because it was just like the fucking weed den, like my whole room ended up looking like a head shop with just bongs everywhere. And it was like, we'd like despise alcoholics and shit. You know what I'm saying? Like all we did was smoke weed, and that's all it was for a long time. And started eating acid and goofing around, kid shit, eating acid and psychedelics, mushrooms and, ecstasy. It's like when raves were blowing up in Atlanta, so all that shit was readily available. Smoking opium and crazy stuff. It wasn't until like, things progressed. I moved to Macon and started working in a restaurant, and like this old lady would sell her pain pills, right? And I was a skateboarder my whole life, so I wrecked knees, had knee surgery, all that crap. And yeah, started buying pills, and I think that to me, that's like the fuse that lit it all to like make me really dependent on drugs at one point, like after 4 months of taking these things on a regular basis, then you get that like physical withdrawals and things like that. And that's like, yeah, that was a catalyst to what led me to where I was at, where I am, where I just came from, whatever. Yeah, eating pills, going crazy, going to bars and stuff. Started my apprenticeship as a tattoo artist, and like, well, I was a piercer for a while and did piercing thing and all that crap. But either way, it was just like a license to burn money at that time. Like it was the biggest shop in town. I made money hand over fist, and drugs were rarely available. So like we were fucking going hard in the paint with it. And yeah, that's definitely when yeah, it just started to get out of control for me, where I was just absolutely dependent on those things. You know, it was really terrifying, honestly, to be like that. Lost a really good girlfriend out of the whole situation. Like swore I would get clean. Went to rehab for a girl. You know what I'm saying? Like, oh, I'll fix this. I'll go to rehab and I'll stop. And like, obviously that shit never works. So.
Yeah. What age was it that you hang on, are we recording, like physically recording? Okay, yeah. So what age was it when you, like that whole encounter that you had with your mother? How old was you when that happened?
I was 15. You mean when I caught her smoking?
When you caught her smoking?
I was 15. Yeah. So I was 15, and then I moved in with her. 15, about to be 16.
But you was already smoking weed.
Yeah. Oh yeah. It was definitely. I'd smoked first time like with a kid from my church, no less. Whose dad was also a cop, which is fucking crazy. Like. I'm a typical cops kid. I got fucking face tattoos and a fucking fentanyl addiction. You know what I'm saying?
So, daddy issues.
Yeah, I fucking nailed it. And yeah. So that's basically yeah. I was smoking casually. I wouldn't say I was smoking every day up until pretty much moving with my mom, and then yeah, it was over with. Like I said, I'd usually have one or two friends literally living with me who's like parents. You know. They're up in arms with their parents, and fuck it, I'll go live with Ian. We have fun there. So
yeah, and I want to get to that in a minute because it's a very similar story to like my friend growing up, or like my whole experience with hanging out with him.
I think in any like circle of friends, there's like a safe house. You know what I'm saying?
For sure.
You know what I'm saying?
So who was you? The reason why I asked this question because when I was younger. It's very similar story. Like started out smoking weed and stuff, but like I think back now of like the people that I was buying weed from were like grown people
for sure,
and we were like 12.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And like I've never been in that situation where I'm like peddling drugs to kids, you know, and I've peddled drugs, you know what I'm saying? And I wouldn't sign on for that shit. Like fucking go home and play video games or something. Like do something with your life.
Yeah, maybe because I'm in recovery, but I'm like huge fear of going to jail for doing that.
Well, yeah. Funny we should say that. Yeah, I don't think when I was at my worst with like fucking drug trafficking and shit, jail was the furthest thing from my mind, bro. But like when I really like this is bouncing way ahead, but like when I was really in the trenches with like fucking like long-term fucking felony time selling drugs, I didn't give a fuck. You know what I'm saying? If I went to jail, I went to jail or whatever. If I got shot, I got shot. It didn't process it.
Yeah. So you yeah, because the disease, of course, takes
absolutely the insanity, bro.
Yeah. So you started smoking with your mom, kinda.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean. She more or less co-signed it by like giving me a birthday card, you know what I'm saying? And then obviously creating a safe haven for us to do it in. So yeah, I definitely smoked weed and stuff. And like I said, I did a lot of like psychedelics and stuff when I was fairly young. I think I did a lot of like crazy psychedelics before my 20s, and I was over them because like tripping balls, like last times I remember tripping, it was just terrifying, like fucking crazy shit, and you can't cut it off, you know? I'd be at a friend's house and like calling my mom to come get me and like talk me down off of this crazy trip I'm on, you know? So I stopped eating psychedelics probably in my 20s and shit. Like cannot imagine doing it again. No fucking way.
Yeah, so you went straight from like smoking weed to like doing psychedelic drugs?
Oh yeah, absolutely. And again, like I was living in Atlanta, raves were a big thing, so like candy flipping, actual ecstasy and rolls, like whatever they're selling on the streets now as beans is not fucking beans. Because like, you know what I'm saying? Like how much is that pill? Like $3? Like fucking $3? What the fuck? It was like $25 for Mercedes and all those triple stamps, quadruple stamped, whatever's. But yeah, even crack. I smoked crack before I was 20. Wow. One time for 3 days straight.
Yeah.
But that wasn't my thing, so.
Yeah. I completely identify with that. It was funny you just bring up the ecstasy pills and stuff like that, because that's what I was watching a comedy special that I was telling you about earlier, Andrew, and he was talking about like the difference. So like the pussies today are using like MDMA. He was like, we just didn't know what we was getting in our pills.
Had no idea, dude. Be like, you're not partying unless you're feeling your pulse. You know what I'm saying? Like, oh, this is bad. This is fucking bad. You know? Yeah. I ate peyote really young. Peyote was fucking gnarly. That was like one of those deep, dark trips I went on. It was like not fucking cool. And all these people now are talking about like microdosing and all this crap. It's like we live in a different world, dude. It's terrifying. And like I said, I have a 14-year-old who's like walking my path currently. You know what I mean? And I really can't. I know at some point I'm gonna have to sit him down and tell him where I went with all this shit. You know what I'm saying? Like where it took me, why I was absent from his life for like fucking 75% of it, because I was fucking on one. You dig it?
Yeah.
So yeah, it sucks. It sucks to think about. I worry about it a lot.
Yeah.
Because, you know, kids these days, you buy a pill and if it's fentanyl, you take one fucking pill and you're dead. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's scary. It's a scary thought, man.
Yeah. So in your journey through becoming an addict, you went from marijuana to just doing the ecstasy, and then it just like progressed into other things.
Again, I'd for a long time smoking weed and stuff. We used to make fun of alcoholics. You know, I always thought it was crazy that like Budweiser sponsored NASCAR and it was a more fucking dangerous drug. In essence, you know what I'm saying? Kills more people per capita than obviously marijuana. But I started drinking in my 20s. Ended up, my mom moved to Macon. I stayed up in Atlanta for another year and lived with like 5 other guys, and it was just a fucking alcohol fucking binge party constantly. So like I started drinking pretty heavily, and that was pretty much all I did until the pills when I was probably about 22, 23, something like that. Because I went to my first rehab when I was 26. But yeah, I just drank and smoked weed and, you know, snorted coke occasionally and stuff. Bar life shit, you know. You just snort coke so you can drink more and shit. But yeah, I don't think I was hung up on anything until the pills came into play. And then it was like a dependency. You know what I'm saying?
For sure.
I might be. I mean, I remember as a kid when all I did was smoke weed and didn't have weed, I'd be ornery. Like I was addicted to weed for sure. You know what I'm saying? Like ornery, upset, you know, fucking mood swings and shit like that. But it wasn't like a physical withdrawal and all that crap. But I was an addict. Fuck, I was addicted to Mortal Kombat before I ever smoked weed. You know what I'm saying? So I've been an addict my whole fucking life, one way or the other. Yeah. Obsessive, compulsive, whatever.
Yeah. No, you literally sound just like one of my friends, Colby. When I grew up, that was like the house to hang out at.
Yeah. That was it. I was the fucking the chairperson for all that shit.
Yeah, in his room, same thing, set up, and his mother didn't you know, really care. They didn't want us doing other things in the moment.
My mom was like really proud for the fact that we didn't drink. You know what I'm saying? Like I remember having like my 17th birthday and stuff, and like a neighbor coming by and she's like, I thought there was kids here partying. It was like super quiet and all of us were just blazed playing Tony Hawk or whatever the fuck was going on. So I think she preferred to have me at the house knowing what I was doing, just smoking some weed, which she felt was harmless. And I mean, I kind of feel it's harmless too, but it's not my bag. Hell, weed nowadays fucking make me feel more panicky and crazy than half the drugs out there, you know. So I couldn't smoke weed if I wanted to.
Yeah, that was same thing. Is like in the end, it used to be fun where I would just laugh all the time, and then I started getting like paranoid.
Yeah, like full blown panic attacks and stuff. I'd be in the trap, dude, smoking heroin and meth, and like somebody hand me a blunt. I'm like, I don't want that crazy shit. Like I'm good. Yeah, and that's fucking crazy, you know.
Yeah. So around 20 is when you started getting addicted to the pain pills.
Oh yeah, my early 20s is where I just they were very accessible. And then like that was like the precipice of like the pill mill stage of everything. You know what I'm saying?
Was you in Florida then?
No. I was in Georgia, and I know fucking Florida was crazy with it. Yeah. And a lot of people would go from Macon to Florida. And you know, I had this guy when I graduated from like Loratabs and 10 milligram Percocets to like 30 milligram Oxycontin and stuff like that. This guy never was out of 30s, like never, you know, knew the guy fucking 3 years, never did not have pills, and he'd have like several prescriptions, you know what I mean? Because he would just take like the crackheads and pay them $300 to go to the doctor, get their pills. You know,
I was that guy.
Yeah, you know how it works. Yeah, for sure. And that dude ended up getting his head cut off like kidnapped. Nobody knows where Ty's at. We don't see him for 3 weeks. His car gets found like burnt to a crisp, and he's decapitated behind this like old elementary school in Macon. And
Holy crap.
that's what happened to Ty. So
Wow.
yeah, don't do
Wow.
drugs.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a pretty insane story.
Yeah, get his head cut off.
Wow.
Yeah, so and he was the type to always have like 15, 20 grand just like in a wad. That's like a status symbol to, you see the fucking rappers and shit nowadays and
Yeah, but people don't cut people's heads off just to steal their stack of money.
yeah, word. Yeah,
That's something else.
It goes way deeper than that. That's like crazy cartel shit, Like, I don't know. I know Ty was from New York, and the first time I had ever physically seen heroin was from Ty, and like that in New York, that's like the impulse structure, you know what I'm saying? Like heroin's very commonly placed. So I don't know. I don't know his whole story, but I know like he was the man in Macon as far as pills went. You know what I'm saying? So
Yeah.
yeah, he got his head cut off.
Yeah, during the whole Oxycontin Express era in Florida, that was like everybody from Georgia would come down to Florida.
Kentucky, everywhere, bro.
Yes, yeah.
Absolutely. And
Yeah.
like even now, like it's crazy like how expensive all that stuff is. And like you might as well be doing fentanyl. You might as well risk dying to save some money. And like, that's the logic of an addict is like, well, this is cheaper and it's like 10,000 times more dangerous, but $40 for a pill and I need fucking 8 of these pills a day, like that ain't gonna cut it. So
Yeah, I seen a thing, or a friend told me that he seen a thing on there that no, I actually seen it. It was, I think, on the news, and they were talking about some high percentage of number where all the pills now are counterfeited with fentanyl, and not just like opioid medications.
oh yeah, dude, like that SoundCloud rapper, what's his name? Fuck, Little Peep or whatever. It was a Xanax bar that was fucking fentanyl that killed him. You know what I'm saying? So they're stamping everything with fentanyl.
Yeah, that's insane. That's
Yeah,
insane.
absolutely. And like, yeah, my drug of choice for sure to this day is heroin, but heroin is fucking dead. Like that's not a thing anymore. Now you get fucking hot pink bags of dope, hot blue bags of dope. Like it's all fent. It's all fent.
Yeah, yeah. So, so you got addicted to the pills, and then like, so where did that take you in your disease?
Again, I tried the rehab thing. I think I might have stayed clean off of the opiates for maybe 3 months. Me and that girl never got back together. I started burning bridges. I ended up meeting my first son's mother and conceived a child. Ended up back on pills, taking Lortabs and stuff. Then I found out about Suboxone, and I like tried the maintenance thing with Suboxone for a while. Tried to stay clean that way. Still drinking and smoking and stuff like that. Um, Ended up burning my bridges in Macon. Wound up in Rome, more or less. Well, like I said, I would instead of the just taking the Lortab and stuff. After the Suboxone is when I found OxyContin, the 30s, and all that crap, and I did those for probably another 2 or 3 years. And yeah, like I said, I was tattooing at the time.
Where was you living?
Well, I had a place in downtown Macon, more or less, and then that place we ended up getting evicted. Obviously, not doing the right things. And I was staying out pretty much with my mom and my cousins and stuff like that, like, sleeping on couches and shit. I had zero responsibilities, you know what I'm saying? And my only responsibility was my habits, more or less. I worked the whole time, I tattooed. I made hand over fist money. I wish I had all that money right now, but I snorted it all, you know what I'm saying? I absolutely snorted it all. Never.
And you had when was the time that you had your first son, or was you aware?
No. I was there. I was with his mother when he was born. So he's 4.
Was it during this time?
At the time, I think when Sailor was born, I had gone back out on pills while she was pregnant. Then found the Suboxone, and I did the Suboxone thing for like 6 months, and then she ended up like sleeping with one of my best friends. We split up. That shit was tragic, and I was back on pills. You know what I'm saying? So like heartache will bring you out any time of the week. I stayed out this last time with a broken heart, or justifying it with that, for fucking 7, 8 months, just trying to go to sleep at night, just because I was tormented with thoughts and shit. But that's how it goes.
Yeah. So you were just in and out of rehabs?
No, actually, I really didn't go to any other rehabs. I never sought out recovery whatsoever. Like I said, when I found out about the Suboxone, stopping your detox and stuff, I would either buy them on the streets. I went to a doctor who supplied them for me for a while. And eventually, yeah, I would end up trading my fucking Suboxone for 30s and shit, So, like, I never took it seriously whatsoever. It wasn't until way down the road when I got arrested for the first time and only time.
Tell me about that.
Uh, well, we're jumping ahead a whole lot, but yeah, it all led to heroin. I ended up on heroin. Pills became way too expensive.
How old were you then?
I started using heroin when I was 33, I guess. Okay. And it was, again, you couldn't find fucking pills. And at the time, I wasn't even using pills. I was taking kratom and stuff. Went through a divorce. One of my best friends ended up moving in with me, who was, me and him used to do 30s like crazy. He showed up out of nowhere with a fucking big bag of heroin. And I wasn't even doing, like I said, I was doing kratom, which is kind of gives you the effects of opiates. It definitely gives you a withdrawal like opiates. So I started using heroin then and fucking loved the stuff. So, we had that house. I went through a divorce with my youngest son's mother. She left. He moved in. He started selling heroin. Basically paid his rent with heroin. We ended up getting evicted because he's not giving me any money, and most of my money is going to heroin. And so I wound up couch surfing. I lived at this tweaker pad for a little while. Eventually, I got linked up with a bunch of gangbangers that sold dope out of the motels, and eventually I started like living at the motels. And then I kind of got put on with these guys because I tattooed. So like the minute they found out I tattooed, I was like their guy, So like it got to the point where I couldn't pay for my room on my own just doing tattoos and stuff, and I got put on. Like I was talking to my big homie, and he was like, hand me a big bag. I told him I didn't have money for the rent and shit, and he handed me a bag, and he's like, listen, people are gonna come by today. I'm not gonna be here. Blah, 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 give me this, pay for the room, we'll just keep this going. And that went on for like 6 months where I was just trapping out motels with a bunch of gangbangers, and like fucking crazy, a cop's kid. Now I'm fucking roped in with gangbanging and drug trafficking and fucking prostitutes, and it was fucking crazy.
And this is all in Macon?
This was actually in Rome. I was in Rome, Georgia when I got on heroin.
How far away from that?
Like 2 hours north of there. Yeah, but we were running to Atlanta and like the Bluffs and all that shit, like Glenwood, and that's where we get our dope from. Like Mexicans get fucking big bricks of fucking dope, and yeah, we were the people up there to get dope from. So eventually, everybody started getting popped off. Like cops got savvy to what was going on, and like homie here, everybody's getting picked up, and I kind of had to like boot scoot around and like survive, find dope where I could. I ended up linking up with this other addict who was going back to Glenwood, where I was familiar with, where we were getting dope. And I was still trying to do my thing, just selling to like have a place to stay or have some dope. You know what I mean? And I was going to make a play at this gas station, was waiting for somebody to come by and pick up something. And I was just hanging out front, me and a homie, fucking Jarhead, total gangbanger. And cop pulled up. I guess somebody called and said we were like loitering, like hanging out front, just looking suspicious, nefarious characters. And yeah, the cop pulls up, tells us what the stilo is and shit. He's like, yeah, well, somebody called, said you were loitering, ID, blah, blah, blah. I don't have an ID on me, but what I do have in my wallet's a fucking Suboxone strip, right? And like cop sees it immediately, like puts it on the hood of the car. I'm like, I'm fucking hit. Like I don't have a prescription for this, and it's like a controlled substance, blah, blah, blah. And that's all it took. Like, hell, I had a needle for the play that was coming to buy this bag of dope, had a bag of dope in my watch pocket. And
wait, you had a needle for him?
No, for the play that was coming, because you could sell needles to these guys that are coming to buy your dope for like an extra $3 or $4, whatever. I've never stuck a needle in me, surprisingly. I guess my logic behind it is like, I know it's got to be really good, and it would be like pouring gas on an already raging dumpster fire. So like, I just never went that route. Obviously, I'm cool with needles. I'm fucking covered in tattoos. I was a body piercer. I don't think I would have any issues working myself through that whole process. But no, I was always a smoker. Like eventually, I started smoking heroin. I snorted it initially, and then one day I was like super sick, and we finally scored. It was like really gummy heroin. It wasn't breaking up in lines and stuff. And I'm like sweating, 2 days sick. And somebody was like, you can smoke that on tinfoil. I was like, shut the fuck up. I locked myself in the bathroom and like came out a changed man, like that Aladdin song, like a whole new world, So like that was the last time I snorted heroin was, 2 days previous to that. I was always smoking it from that point on. Never stuck a needle in me.
Yeah, I want to ask you about that, but first I want to say you're a really nice drug dealer to provide needles for them.
And again, it just comes with the territory, and it's so weird. You find yourself in these situations like, when I was living in those motels, like I woke up one day and my buddy's like, you guys are going to West Virginia. I'm like, what do you mean? And like, his side chick prostitute. He's sending her. He's sending her to West Virginia with like 2 pounds of meth to go up there because apparently like the price fluctuates and like up there they really like dope. Go fucking figure. And he wants me to ride with her like as security or whatever. So I've got like a pistol and I'm riding with this prostitute to West Virginia to sell fucking meth for about a week. We were just sitting in a hotel and this guy would come like clockwork. It was a pretty chill scenario for the most part, easy money or whatever. But yeah, like now that I look back on it, like, I was a fucking, international drug trafficker, I guess.
Not international is multiple countries.
Well,
no.
Okay.
Wait, no.
No, in a nation.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Word.
Yeah.
So
I'm an idiot.
Either way, I'm trafficking drugs in a large capacity, and that's fucking crazy to me. You know what I mean? Like I'm a tattoo artist. I'm a fairly soft-spoken dude.
You're a cop's kid.
I don't really like violence, and now I have a fucking hot pistol in my lap, and I'm riding with a prostitute to go sell pounds of fucking dope. So yeah, it's fucking crazy where you get to. Either way, I got wrapped up for a Suboxone. Dude didn't even feel the needle when he frisked me. Dude didn't check my watch pocket for the dope I had on me, all that crap. That all got found on the guard line at the county jail. But I went to Polk County Jail and kicked dope. Like I was so terrified. I knew I was going to be so sick. And like, when they're booking you, they ask you like, "Oh, you do drugs and stuff?" They go, "Yeah, I'm about to be like super sick." And I figured they'd like zoom me into a room and let me see some nurses. Fuck that shit. That none of that happened, bro. I ended up like in a suicide cell, acting a fool, like at the 4-point harnesses. And if you think restless legs are bad, fucking tie them bitches down, bro. Get in a harness chair and like don't be dope sick in a harness. Just be nice to the cops and just fucking sit there and chill out because it's gonna be miserable either way. But at least you're not in a harness chair with a spit mask and all that stuff. I was fucking going crazy in there. So, but I ended up doing 2 months. I came off of dope in county jail.
So they didn't put you on any type of detox protocol?
No, absolutely
the whole time,
fucking not. I got arrested on a Friday, and apparently the doctors ain't even there on the weekends, whatever. So yeah, I went through complete, full-blown detox in county jail.
And Georgia.
Yeah, and again, they brought me to a suicide cell because of the way I was acting. So like, it was all like a really dark fucking blur to me, but the worst of my detox was spent right there in a suicide cell, and then when I finally came to him was like, what's next? Where am I going next? Like they rolled me into population, put me in a pod, and like that's where the fun started. Like I had the best time in jail. This like for real, dude.
Compared to
dude, like this time around, like getting clean on the outside, getting clean with like a car and an unlocked door, like freedom. Getting clean with freedom is fucking the hardest thing ever, because when you're sick, you'll go to like the ends of the earth to not feel sick. And when you decide to stop that behavior, it's fucking rough, dude. Like I would lay there and try to sleep and pretend I was in jail, like put on some rain sounds on my phone and just pretend I was back in jail and I couldn't leave the house to go chase dope.
Yeah. So when you was in jail, did you try to stay clean when you got, how long did you do, you said?
I did 2 months. I went through the holidays. So I got the full treatment, like as far as misery goes. Like it's sad to be there at Christmas and New Year's and shit. But at the same time, like some like unbreakable bonds were forged in jail. It was a crazy place. Like when I finally got to a pod, I walked in and somebody was like, "Hold him down, suck his dick," and I'm like, what the fuck is this shit, right? So I was like, I'm halfway terrified. I don't know where this is gonna go. And then somebody else rolls in and like the same thing was said, "Hold him down, suck his dick." So like that was the thing to say in the pod. So like eventually I'm on point with it, like, "Hold him down, suck his dick," and this old man's like, "Hell, you ain't gotta hold me down." Like so, like we had a good time
in that country accent.
Oh
too.
Yeah, for sure. What? He ain't gotta hold me down. Yeah, he was with it. But yeah, once they found out I was a tattoo artist and shit, because you get put in lockdown, and more or less when you're locked down in a pod, you just can't leave your cell. You're still in a pod where people can rotate by, talk through the windows, blah blah blah. So I think I had like 8 or 9 days of lockdown in the pod for the way I acted up there, like acting a fool, kicking doors, cussing cops, all that shit. So I got locked down with these cats, these 4 dudes that were all also on lockdown on the pod for about 6 days. And like, obviously it came out I was a tattoo artist, and that's like all the rest of the pod needed to know. They started building machines, and like we didn't have electricity, so the machines ran off of the sinks. There's a water machine. So like half a Mountain Dew bottle, some fucking tubing from the nurse's station, a couple of threads here, like it's crazy what people put together in jail, bro. Like for sure. So by the time I was out and in population, was able to rotate around, I was tattooing and didn't stop tattooing. So I always had like food. I was everybody's buddy. I had a good time. Like
for the 2 months you were there.
Absolutely. Like I had a good time. And really the stipulation of me getting out, because I was trying to get out from the jump, you know, calling my parents like, please get me out. I was trying to get high, you know what I'm saying? I was like trying to get out of jail. What really had it all come around is my friend had found Sober Living America, and they were like,
I remember that.
Right. So like that was the stipulation. It's like, okay, you're gonna do these 2 months or whatever. They didn't say that. I thought I was getting out every weekend to go to Sober Living, but it wound up being like 2 months, and that was the stipulation. I was going straight to Sober Living. So I caught bail and drove straight to Jacksonville from Rome, Georgia, and that's how I wound up in Jacksonville. I didn't know nothing about Jacksonville except it wasn't county jail, so I was going. You know what I mean? So wound up at Sober Living. Wound up. Yeah,
real quick. So your dad, are you talking to your dad?
No, my mother. Yeah,
just your mother.
Oh, my dad was over when he found out I was in jail, bro. Forget about it. Like Jesus Christ. Like we don't have the tightest relationship. Like we love each other, and you know I adore my father and respect him immensely. But yeah, our relationship is obscured. It's a little weird. Yeah. And but yeah, it was my mother and my friend Ashley who had found the SLA thing, drove my ass down to Jacksonville and dropped me off there. And I had it was like a cheat code to me, because I was 2 months clean, more or less. Like we smoked a little weed in jail and did some coke. Best coke I ever did was in county jail, which is fucking crazy. But I didn't have like the sickness or anything. I was just right into a sober living environment. So I was off to the races, dude. Once I started going to meetings and like really started working some kind of program, it was easy for me to adapt and really stick with it. And like that's where I got all my clean time. You know what I mean? And
so in the Sober Living, Sober Living America, because the one that they had here, it was mainly just a workhorse. Like you go work for these labor camps.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Well, they send you out and you pay your rent and blah blah blah. They give you a couple days to sit as a resident and get adapted to like the whole scenario of like, you do this, we go to meetings here, you gotta go to meetings, blah blah blah, and all from there, yeah, they put you in a work environment. Like I went to Samsonite, the factory, and like flung boxes for a month, but eventually, like the director was friends with Ashley, and Ashley had met him online doing like tarot cards, some random shit, whatever. So Dustin was already on my team. Like the fucking guy that was running the place was already like batting for me. Like I ended up living in the director's apartment off the jump, basically, you know? Mm-hmm. So, eventually I had the opportunity to work for Sober Living, and I became like a work development director, which means like I was the one that made sure everybody got to work, got on the vans, got where they needed to be. Like,
how long was you in this for?
I did the Sober Living thing 6 months. 7 months. But by the end of it, I had my own city. I was a director. Like I went through director's training, and I was like running the co-ed facility, like running a sober living house.
At 6 months.
Yeah, absolutely. Which is crazy. But at the same time, like I was cool with everybody. Like I had a cool demeanor about me, and like we were going through this whole recovery thing together. You know what I mean? So I don't know. It worked somehow. Eventually, like the straw that broke the camel's back is I was dating a girl that used to be a director at Sober Living, and like they had bad ties, and like once they found out we were talking, that was kind of like the end of it. Then I moved in with my sponsor. Eventually,
yeah. So during this time in Sober Living, are you going to like meetings?
Oh yeah, absolutely. That was the whole thing to me, and it's crazy. Like, they do.
And this is in Georgia.
No, this is Jacksonville.
Oh, so you're in Jacksonville now?
Yeah. Okay. University Boulevard, man. I mean, like where they put the Sober Living is crazy. It's like fucking trapped out apartments. Like, dude, you could go cop anywhere in that scenario, you know, no problem. But like that wasn't my mindset. So you can get clean in Jacksonville. I told people like, yeah, I'm going to Jacksonville and getting clean. They're like, you're fucking going to Jacksonville to get clean? That's fucking crazy. But to me, it's like, I couldn't wait to get back here, like, especially now after the relapse and stuff. It's just like such a safety net. I know so many people in recovery. I don't know like the dark side of Jacksonville. All I know is like recovery in Jacksonville. So it's nice to be back.
Yeah. So by this time you're going to meetings and you're meeting people in recovery.
Oh yeah. It wasn't until I went to a 12-step meeting where like it all made sense. You know what I mean? Like what I had going on, you know, that I was an addict and that there was a solution. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But yeah, initially just seeing smiling faces and getting hugs and cutting up and stuff with people that got time, people that have like been clean for a minute, you know, because
have you ever been to a meeting before this whole sober living?
I think the only rehab I'd ever been to when I was coming off of Lortabs and stuff, they had a few like where H&I brought in meetings to that rehab. But bro, I was miserable that whole week, like dope sick. So like I didn't process it. You know what I mean? It didn't, you know, make a mark or anything for me. When I came out of jail, I was pretty clear headed, and when I got into a sober living place, you know, obviously that was the road I had to walk anyways. You know what I mean? So like going to regular meetings and stuff was, you know, I obviously started looking forward to it and started to like see the solution, realize like started to take it seriously, you know, realize that like I didn't have to use even if I wanted to, you know?
Yeah. So you started going to meetings and you started to like, hear the message.
Oh yeah.
And believe it a little bit.
Yeah, absolutely. Like I said, you meet people with time, like you meet somebody, especially in early recovery, you meet somebody with like 25 years and you're like, shut the fuck up. Like 25 years, bro? Like you hadn't shot yourself or nothing? That's
this been going on for that long? Where the fuck have I been?
Yeah, for real, dude. You're almost like, you're like, come on, what do you do for real? But like, you know, you start to see these people and like, and like I said, the, you know, before and after the meeting is like really what early people in recovery really need to take seriously, because that's where you're going to, you know, like run into those relationships and form those bonds. You know what I'm saying? So like, that's the most important thing, is getting there early, picking up some kind of service commitment, making coffee, whatever. Just try to fucking get in there, get in the middle of the whole scenario, because these people will hold you accountable, man. They know when you're off a little bit, you know, and that's what worked for me, you know?
Yeah. And was you kind of like, did you feel sociable when you were there?
Oh, bro, like,
or did it take a little bit of time to like warm up some?
I think I took to it like a fly to shit as far as sociability goes and stuff, you know? I think the first time I shared in a meeting, it was fucking wild, you know? I'm like, you know, been gang banging and selling dope and doot. Had
the worst stories are the coolest.
Yeah, I had a 12-inch mohawk, you know, tattoos on my face. And
I remember
that.
Like,
yeah, like who the fuck is this guy? So yeah, sociability wasn't a problem, you know, and that's what I look forward to. That's why I kept going to meetings until I started to catch the message. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, it definitely.
So that's probably why you had a little bit more, because you just recently got out of jail.
Yeah.
Oh, so you had that jail weight on you.
Oh, dude, and again, like, I was happy to be out of jail. So like if I'm having to go to meetings and stuff and that's the worst thing that happens in my day, like I'm fucking good. I can like smoke cigarettes outside. That's dope. You know what I'm saying? So I was happy to be there, man. Yeah. You couldn't keep me from a meeting. Honestly, I would walk where we were at. I could walk to Spring Street. I could walk to Sicker Than Most. Like I could go like walk there, and then the bus would take us to other meetings. So I was in meetings constantly, bro. Yeah. Especially when I started working for the actual sober living. I was able to go off and do my own thing, especially if I was going to a meeting.
How old was you when you went into that sober living?
Okay, so like I'm 39, 2 years. It's like 35, 36, I guess.
35 or 36. Right?
Yeah, give or take. Something like that.
So you got entered, and that was basically your introduction to recovery.
Absolutely. 100%, man. And like it's crazy it took that long to, you know, you always hear about like AA and stuff like that, especially AA. You always hear about that, but like I never gave it a shot. Really gave myself the opportunity to. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I jokingly shared about like when I share my story is like the only thing I ever knew about a meeting prior to getting to recovery was what I seen on that movie Half Baked when I was a kid.
Oh, word. Yeah. Boo this man.
Yeah. That he just died from unknown reasons. But
Mr. Bob Saget.
Exactly.
You ever suck dick for coke?
Yeah, that guy is way more brutal.
Oh my God, yeah. If your only introduction to Bob Saget is Full House, bro, like backpedal it a little bit, and that guy is fucking raunchy, bro.
Yeah.
Raunchy, yeah. Fucking rest in peace, Army. That shit was good.
Yeah,
no doubt.
So that was the only introduction I ever had prior to making it to a meeting. So it's weird that you go through this like your whole life, and then you like never know that this type of stuff exists,
and it's worldwide, bro.
And worldwide, millions of people,
completely fucking organized and flourishing.
Yes, absolutely. So so talk about your process in recovery, because this is about the time that I started to see you.
Oh yeah, absolutely. it didn't take long after pretty much finding what place was going to be my home group and stuff, and really starting to build like a kind of a network where I had a friend that I had actually gotten a sober living, and he had talked to this guy at a meeting about being a sponsor, right? Asked the guy to be a sponsor. I didn't have a sponsor at the time. And he ended up going back home. Like, he was like, I miss my mom. I was like, you don't miss your mom. You miss heroin, bro. Like, what are you talking about, you know? So I ended up calling the guy he had asked to be a sponsor to tell him that he had bounced, right? And we ended up having this like hour-long conversation, just talking shit and stuff. I was like, by the end of it, I'm like, so you want to be my sponsor? Because I don't have
like
one
stealing
of
somebody's girlfriend.
Yeah, word. More or less. But yeah, that's pretty much when me and Christopher got tight. You know. Really.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome.
And you know, obviously, if you have a competent sponsor, he kind of leads the way and points you in a direction you need to be going. You know. So got into literature, started reading, eventually started working steps, and yeah, that was it was awesome, man. It was definitely awesome. But like I said, you know, throughout that process, I ended up getting a girlfriend, and like she was in recovery too, and things were good for a while until they weren't. You know, once we left Jacksonville, like once I got out of this safety net and this network and this accountability and stuff, it didn't take long until like I was burning bridges. You know what I mean? I was back at the races.
So you left, so you were here, and then you.
Oh yeah, I picked up my year here.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah, and you got the call about your sons.
Right. Yeah. So my youngest son's mother, I guess she had cheated on her boyfriend she was with in Savannah, and like now had nowhere to live and needed to drop off Scout. And yeah, she went to my mother's, kind of made it seem like he was staying the weekend. And like 2 weeks later, my mom's like, I haven't heard from Katie, blah, blah, blah. And it came down to that decision to like go up there.
Go up or bring them down.
Right. And again, throughout this whole time, it was like pulling nails trying to see Scout. You know, she always held him like as some sort of leverage and stuff. So now it was like an opportunity where that wasn't going to be a process and that wasn't going to be a thing. So yeah, made the decision to go up there and be my son or whatever. Tried to make it work, went and got jobs, started working, and yeah, it didn't take long after that. Just the whole stressful situation of being away. I'm sure it was being away from not working a program and being at meetings. And
so you didn't go to a meeting when you were
Oh, no. We had gone to meetings when we had visited. Like the Christmas previous to that, we had caught a couple of meetings in Macon, you know, because we were working a pretty solid program at the time, you know. But no, when we came back, I don't think meetings were even on our mind. I think we were both kind of miserable at the fact we were leaving Jacksonville. You know what I mean? Regardless of circumstances with Scout, you know?
Yeah. So so eventually you relapsed. You want to talk about that process of relapsing?
It was real easy, man. Like started taking Kratom.
Well, so yeah, so you just went to a store and seen.
Yeah, we started working, and like we were working at Waffle House and like working overnight and like that.
Oh, a great place to get drugs.
Yeah, absolutely. What are you talking about?
Waffle House.
And I think we were both just really sore after one night of working all night long and stuff, and like picked up a bag of Kratom capsules, and like I said, that to an opiate addict, it's more or less flips that same kind of switch.
So y'all relapsed at the same time?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. We started taking Kratom. I think we even bought some.
Whose idea was it to get the Kratom?
I think it was mine. It was probably mine.
So you just like casually, you're two recovering addicts trying to live a life, and then you're just like.
But again, like that recovery thing, I think we were just two addicts at that point. Once we left and weren't working a program, that's all you got.
How long was this?
I think it only took a matter of like a week, 2 weeks. Once we started working, so I would say we were probably there like 3 weeks.
You were there 3 weeks before.
Started working, started making some money and stuff. She was serving, so you obviously get pretty decent money like on a busy night, a weekend night and stuff. Yeah. And yeah, it didn't take long. I think we actually bought the Kratom at a liquor store, so like bought some whiskey and some Kratom and started doing the Kratom probably for like 3 weeks straight. Because again, to an opiate addict, which both of us were, you know, former heroin addicts and stuff, it flips a switch, you know, so like you're already kind of feel like you're dependent on it. Like, you know, even Kratom, there's definitely a detox with Kratom. So started taking Kratom regularly. And then another night after work or whatever, it was like I could reach out because like I'm like linked in with a whole bunch of really bad people, you know what I mean? And like I'm like, I wonder what this dude's doing, talking about going back up to Rome, where I was part of like a pretty solid network of fucking heroin dealers and stuff. I was like, I wonder what this dude's doing. I was like, we could roam it, but 2 hours. We could drive up there tonight and get a bag, and that was it, dude. We went up there and got like a fucking 8 ball, and now we're doing heroin. And yeah, that was probably a month process. At least it was. It was
so
quick.
That's your number. I know in a meeting one time somebody was like, well, how long do I have to go to meetings? And they were like, well, you can stop going and until you relapse, and that's how long you have to go.
Just last night, man, I have a buddy out in California that has bounced from like 3 different sober living houses, keeps relapsing, and again, so like goes, I don't know, do these like sober living places don't talk to each other at all? They're like, oh yeah, we'll bring this guy in. He's got a great track record. Either way, he's managed to get into 3 different places. And like he was talking last night about some guy had pissed him off or something. And I was like, well, fucking don't let him piss you off. Like, just don't even think about the guy or whatever. And he's like, yeah, well, I just, I feel like I just want to go have fun. I don't want to have to go to meetings forever. I was like, well, that's kind of where you're at. You know what I mean? Like, if you expect to like stay clean, that's the process. You can fucking, and you can go to meetings and not work steps and be fucking miserable. Like at some point you're gonna have to do what our predecessors did: stay clean and stay happy. And their answers to all that is working steps and fucking going to meetings and being part of a community of other people just like you. You know what I mean? So
yeah.
And that's that's thoroughly what I believe, is that I'm going to be going to meetings, and so if I want to stay clean and fucking be there for my kids and be somebody that I can be proud of, because at the end of the day, right now I have nothing as far as that goes. I haven't worked in 3 months. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm fucking on food stamps. I'm dependent on everybody, dependent on my mother and everything. But at the end of the day, I can look in the mirror and be like, I'm not fucking using, And I kicked dope on my own, just in bed, pissed off, like the fucking worst. If there was a fucking jail van that drove up that day and was like, come on, stay a couple months, I would have been like, fuck it, let's go, dude.
So how long was you in your relapse?
Oh God, almost a year. Almost a year. Yeah, dude. Because we ended up, me and that girl, it ended up getting fucking crazy, and like really fucking crazy. And, they say that you pick up right where you left off, and that's absolutely true. It's the worst experience I've ever had being out there and using. But yeah, it got to the point where like, dude, we got in like full blown fist fights, bro. And I've never hit a girl in my life, I was a gentleman. I let her win, I'm not a total dick, but like she fist fights, like hitting this girl, bro. And like, that's crazy. That still breaks my heart to this day that happened, So like me and her are just on the outs. And like I was telling Chris the other night, it was like when things were good and we were working a program, I thought that was like the healthiest relationship I'd ever been in. And for it all to go up in smoke like that, it was fucked up.
Yeah.
So when she left, I was fucking like down and out, like wanted her back, fucking heartbroken. And yeah, I used over it constantly. That's all I did. I was already on that path, bro. And I was ready to go, bro. Whatever happened. Because Lord knows I probably ran out of digits of friends I've lost to drug addiction. You know what I mean? And I was right there putting myself in the same position to die and not caring. You know?
Yeah. So now you're back, and how long do you have?
I'll be picking up 3 months on the 22nd of this month. So 10/22/22 is my shit.
Wow.
Yeah, bro.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
And again, it was a nightmare, man. Like getting clean on the outside, like kudos to anybody that can do it. Like it takes a lot of willpower, man. Especially not going to meetings. Like because I'm like way out in the woods in Macon, bro. Like lots of land, dirt roads, crazy shit. So like I pretty much just kick it in my room, but I do like Zoom meetings.
Yeah.
Also,
which are a blessing.
Yeah.
They're a blessing.
They're really cool, man. Yeah. And really, what also happened, like right as I decided to get clean, I think I had like 6 days or something. DFAX shows up at my door, and somebody had like talked to DFAX. They're like, well,
which is what?
Like Department of Family and Children's Services, okay. Right? So they show up. They're like, well, somebody has told us that you're using again. And I'd already had like 6 days clean. I'm still like in a detox, not feeling fucking great. And I really could have denied it right there and pissed in a cup and told them to fucking kick rocks, right? Probably wouldn't have pissed for fentanyl at all. They say like 3 days, it would have been gone. Mm-hmm. But like at the same time, it was like a point of accountability where I was like, well, yeah, I did, but I'm not anymore. So that opened a case for me. So now like I have to do this IOP, this outpatient rehab kind of shit, working with counselors and all that crap. So I have a lot of accountability there without physical meetings and shit. I have counselors coming to my house. I can be piss tested at any moment, and I don't, Scout's already been sort of abandoned by his mother. You know what I mean? It would be like completely selfish of me to take me out of his life too because I wanted to get high. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
So I appreciate the accountability.
Yeah, no, absolutely. It's kind of like a blessing.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. But like, I remember when I called Chris about it and was like, "Oh, well, now we got defects and all this crap," and he's like, "Fucking let them come piss test you. Like, don't use. Like, let them do whatever they need to do. They can't do anything till you do something wrong. You know." So I'm cool with it.
Yeah. So how do you feel back being in recovery?
Dude, it's I'm coming out of the fog. They said that 90-day thing. They always tell like new people, it's like, give it 90 days, see how you feel. Like my situation without meetings and not like a hardcore network there, it's like super depressing. You know what I mean? And a lot of times, like I said, at the end of the day, all I have is the fact I haven't used. I got like super sad, go through all sorts of waves of emotions and stuff, trying to figure out how to raise a kid properly. There's a lot of variables to it, but I'm grateful. And I'm grateful to be able to come back. Like not too many people get that opportunity.
And you have like that network set up kind of that you can just plug right back into.
And that's what you're so ignorant to the fact of when you're back out there using
with people that really care about you.
Right. Yeah, that's the thing, dude. It's like in a 12-step program, you have these people that have done some of the craziest, most fucked up shit in the world. And now, like, they're fucking doctors and nurses, and like they really care about you. It's like the best of the best becoming the worst of the, or the worst of the worst becoming the best of the best. So it's a beautiful thing to be a part of. But yeah, like unbreakable bonds with people that really do care about you.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm incredibly excited that you're back in recovery. It's good to see you.
And again, it was It's so silly when you're out there, you forget all that stuff. Like I have my key tags, like from when I picked up my year and stuff, I still have them on my chain wallet. And bro, when I was using, like I would just tuck them in my pocket. Like I didn't want to see them. Or if I had another wallet I would use, I just like hide that shit under a pillow or something. I don't want to think about getting a year clean because I didn't have it anymore,
Yeah.
But at the same time, like, on the flip side of the coin, now I have like that experience of a relapse and stuff. Like I'm not some fucking tier 1 operator, Navy SEAL recovery guy that came in and got it the first try,
Yeah.
And it's good to have that experience now in a case where I'm running into somebody that's relapsed. Now I know what they're going through. And that's all this shit is experience, strength, and hope. That's all that this whole process is. So
yeah,
it's just more experience for me now. Something else I can learn from.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad to see you back. Thanks for doing the podcast.
Yeah, bro, it was fucking cool, man.
It is cool. It is cool, and hopefully it will. Hopefully it'll reach and help a lot of people.
Yeah, that's the goal. The opportunity, man.
Yeah, absolutely. So giving back, I really appreciate it.
Hell yeah, dude.
And thanks for doing the first ever episode of Tales from the Grips.
I hope it goes somewhere really good for you, bro.
Thank you, guy. I appreciate it, man.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.